Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Now. Today is Wednesday, December 29th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And if you're new here for the first time, each day, Monday through Friday in the afternoon, we bring you the top stories from WKYC.com. That means the stories that you here in Northeast Ohio are clicking on, the stories that you're reading, the stories that you are interested in. So let's start with one of those top stories right now. Our Verify team is talking about a medical condition, a symptom specifically of COVID-19 that means that you need to seek immediate medical attention. Now, the top symptoms have remained relatively the same, even as we've seen different COVID-19 variants: runny noses, headaches, fatigue, sneezing, a sore throat, those kinds of things. Many of those things won't send someone to the hospital. There are things that you do need to seek immediate medical attention for. That includes trouble breathing, persistent pain in your chest, confusion if you're disoriented, and extreme fatigue, meaning you simply cannot stay awake. But if this happens, you need to seek emergency attention. If you have blue, pale, or gray fingernails or lips, that's a sign of something very serious going on within your body. Now, if you're someone with a darker skin tone, it might be easier to see this discoloration around the lips, the eyes, or the mouth. But what you're looking for here is a blue, pale, or gray discoloration. And this is because of something called cyanosis. This is due to a lack of oxygen in the blood. So if your oxygen levels in your blood get too low, this can happen, because normally bright red blood cells will be bright red, but if they don't have enough oxygen, they can look like a dark bluish red color, and that's when you'll see that discoloration again in the fingernails or the lips, or possibly around the eyes or the mouth. Now, this could be an indication that someone with COVID-19 is having heart issues, cardiovascular issues. It's also a sign of other serious medical problems like lung or heart disease, or possibly even blood clots, which we all know can be very, very problematic. Now, the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Health scholar told a publication in 2020 that it's rare to have this discoloration without other symptoms, but it definitely can happen. So yes, if you're seeing that blue, pale, or gray skin tone in your nails or your lips, that could definitely be a sign of a serious COVID infection. It could also be a sign of another serious medical issue. So do not take that lightly. If you see that, get yourself to a doctor as soon as possible. Now, today, our Governor, Mike DeWine, talked about sending more National Guard members to help our hospitals in the middle of this COVID-19 surge, which a lot of people are attributing, a lot of professionals are attributing to the Omicron variant. 2 weeks ago, well, less than 2 weeks ago, actually, the governor ordered more than 1,000 National Guard members to help the state's hospitals. Now he's ordering almost 1,300 more to help at our state's hospitals. This is after talking early this morning with hospital leaders from around the state who made that request for more Guard members to support their needs while they are experiencing staffing issues. Governor DeWine said today that Ohio hospitals right now have more COVID-19 patients than at any point since the start of the pandemic. Let that sink in for a minute. When we were very, very cautious about all of this early on in early 2020, we're seeing more patients now than we saw at any point. We're seeing more patients now than we saw in the surge this time last year. Today, the governor said that 92.5% of the COVID patients in hospitals since June 1st, that's when the COVID-19 vaccine was first widely available to the general public, have all been unvaccinated. So now let's take a look at the COVID-19 numbers for today in from the Ohio Department of Health. We talked about on Sunday how there was a technical record for new daily reported cases, but that covered 2 days because there were no numbers reported on Christmas Day. Today we have a single day record, a huge number, 20,320 new reported cases of COVID-19. And remember, there are people who are testing at home with rapid tests. Not clear that any of those cases are being counted because, as we talked about previously, it's not exactly easy to self-report an at-home COVID-19 case here in Cuyahoga County. But what we do have, the official record from Ohio, is our positivity rate in the state is 24.7%. That's the highest that it's been since the start of the pandemic. That means for every test that's being done for COVID-19, almost 25% of them are coming back positive. Almost 1 in 4 of those tests coming back positive right now. Right now in Ohio, there are 5,356 people who are hospitalized being treated for COVID-19. Out of those people, 1,228 of them are being treated in an ICU. Now, while people are looking for places to get these COVID-19 tests today, the Lake County Fairgrounds had its one-day pop-up test. It opened at 11:30 a.m. That's when the first test, it opened this morning at 10 a.m. That's when the first tests started being done, but volunteers there said that people were lining up as early as 5 a.m. And just before 11:30 a.m., they shut off the line, they cut it out. They only had 2,000 tests to give to people, and so they decided to stop the line there. Everyone who was in line up to that point was able to get a test, but they stopped it there with their 2,000 rapid antigen tests available. Now remember, this was a one-day only thing. We do have other places where you can get COVID-19 tests on WKYC.com, so make sure you check that out. And while schools are trying to figure out what to do with this latest COVID-19 surge, we now know that the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, when they go back to school next week after their winter break, they'll be doing it online. The CEO, Eric Gordon, said today that all schools within the district would start their remote learning classes when they go back in January. He said students will follow their normal schedule. They'll log on to classes as directed by their teacher throughout the week. And it's very important, he said, that students fully participate in this remote learning week as part of their attendance and classroom instruction. He actually called it, to quote him, critically important. Now, they came to this decision at CMSD after talking with local and state health officials, including the Ohio Department of Health, the director of the Cuyahoga County Board of Health, and the director of the Cleveland Department of Health, also the interim state superintendent of education. So what will happen when CMSD reopens after the break is people will be able to come in on Monday to pick up anything they need, like their laptop, their tablet, their other school materials. But just to pick up your things, you've got to get back home for that instruction. Also, though, there will be openings. People will be able to come in and get the meals for their children if you're part of the people who are able to pick up those meals at the school. So that will not be impacted. Now, Governor DeWine was asked about this today. He basically said that obviously we want children in schools for lots of reasons. He says he wasn't going to go into all of the reasons. They've been articulated very well. You know, pediatricians and educators say it's important to have children in schools. Here's what he says. This is a quote from him. What I would prefer is that people listen to our children's hospitals in Ohio, and what the children's hospitals in Ohio are saying is wear a mask. They're saying require masks for your school. They're not saying close school. They want your kids in school just as much as you want your kids in school, but our children's hospitals are begging you, knowing what Omicron has done in other countries, they're saying please have children wear masks. And even for schools that have not done this for a while, I would ask them to consider it. It will make a difference, but we want our kids in school. That's from Governor DeWine. But again, at least at CMSD, that will not be happening for the first week of 2022. Now, this story is quite shocking, and that is a very bad pun in this situation, but not intentional. This is a very shocking story. An Amazon Alexa device told a child to use a penny on a live plug. Here's what happened. Amazon said it addressed the issue and has updated Alexa now, so it won't be doing this anymore. But the BBC reported that a 10-year-old girl asked Alexa for a challenge to do, and then the device said, plug in a phone charger about halfway into a wall outlet, then touch a penny to the exposed prongs. This is a trend that went all over the internet on TikTok. It's been named the Penny Challenge. It became popular last year, but there's a big risk of getting electrocuted and causing fire damage. So fire officials across the country have warned parents about this, saying keep an eye out for this and make sure, your kids aren't doing this. So the BBC reported that child didn't actually attempt the challenge, but the parent of the child tweeted out about it, just absolutely stunned that this would come from an Alexa device. Now, Amazon told the BBC that it updated Alexa to stop this from recommending this activity in the future, but that it was found online on a community-style website. Very alarming there. Also, let's maybe take stock of the situation and maybe recommend that our children not ask Alexa for challenges, at least not do it unsupervised, so we can sort of head those things off at the pass. Now, speaking of children, a surrogate here in the Akron area gave birth to triplets, which is super rare. It's very rare that triplets are even born. There were about 3,100 triplets born in 2019. That's the latest data from a maternal fetal medicine specialist who delivered these triplets, Dr. Stephen Bakak, out of Akron. This happened at Akron General Hospital. And they were featured on the Cleveland Clinic's Facebook page. They were dressed up adorably as sweet relish, ketchup, and mustard. The babies' names are Parker, Robin, and Sophie. And they have been sending out triple the love to their new dads, Eric Portenga and Kevin O'Neill, since they were born on September 9th. They live with them in Ann Arbor. Now, the surrogate's name was Maureen. She's a school teacher, and they all met through a mutual friend, just immediately clicked. Maureen and her husband have a 5-year-old of their own. They decided for themselves no more kids, but Maureen had been thinking about surrogacy. They connected, and the rest is history. Now, these babies will live in Ann Arbor with their dads, but they plan to make Maureen stay involved in their lives, and the triplets will get to know Maureen as Auntie Mo. Very cool story there. And we are honoring the retirement of a Cuyahoga County Common Pleas Judge, Dick Ambrose, who also happens to be a former Cleveland Browns linebacker. He served for 17 years on the bench, and he's hanging up his robe on December 31st, hanging up the robe a little bit early after he was last reelected in 2016. Now, this is the third time that he's retired from a high-profile position. He spent 17 years as an attorney in private practice before taking the bench, and before that, 10 years as a Cleveland Browns linebacker. Now, he says he's retiring early now on his own accord, which is something he didn't get the chance to do in the NFL. His career was ended in the NFL because of injuries. Now, while he was on the bench, one of his most high-profile cases included presiding over the trial of a serial killer, Anthony Sowell. That was in 2011. Sowell was convicted of killing 11 women and hiding their remains in and around his home. He was sentenced to death. He had been appealing those sentences. He actually died in February in custody from a terminal illness while he was sitting on death row and awaiting those further appeals. Judge Ambrose's term, as I said, not yet expired yet, but he did talk about his career in the NFL, his career as an attorney, and that's in the Courts on the Record podcast. You can find that linked on WKYC.com. Congratulations to Judge Ambrose, and enjoy your retirement. As of December 31st, he'll be starting 2022 without a job, hopefully hanging out and enjoying, some family and downtime and relaxation. And with that, to end things out today, we say happy 4th day of Kwanzaa. The 7-day celebration continues through New Year's Day. I hope you're all having a lovely finish to your 2021 and getting ready to ring in 2022 coming up in just a couple of short days. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Wednesday, December 29th. I'll see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.